25 years ago, David Essex missed a session he had booked in a recording studio.
A young man called Paul Gadd used the studio time instead to record Rock and Roll Parts 1 and 2.
These days, Paul is better known as God of Glam Rock superstar Gary Glitter, leader! Whoa! Fantastic. Welcome to 1 to 3, Mr. Gary Glitter, ladies and gentlemen.
Rock and roll! Oh, it's so good to have the real thing. He was trying to do you last week.
And Gary.
Lovely. Look at those earrings of yours.
Welcome to the show, mate.
Oh, nice to see you.
And can we ask you to remove the face? Yeah, those baby blues.
I know, my mum always used to say when I was a little kid, she'd say, you're an ugly little devil, but your eyes are beautiful.
They are bright blue, the whites are white. How are you doing that when, I mean, the schedule that you've just been going through, you've just come back from the States. Tell us about that.
Well, we did, in the summer, Pete Townsend from The Who, the maestro, phoned me while I was on the boat. I've got a lovely yacht this year, and I'm really proud of it, you know. And he phoned me, and it was like, ow, I better get another life jacket, you know, Pete Townsend from The Who phone. And he said, would you like to do Quadrophenia and play The Godfather? We're putting The Who together to do Hyde Park, and that was that massive concert, 150,000 people with Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, and Lana Morissette, you know. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do it, thank you very much, you know. He said, actually, I said, why me? And he said, in the 60s, they had this, they were a mod band, and there was rocker bands, and mods and rockers never mixed. There was a guy called Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. Anyway, he said, you are, like everybody comes to your concerts now, you are the god. He was the godfather and you're the godfather now, because you get mods, rockers, punks, you know, politicians, clergy, green people, red people, crazy people, you know. And so you're the godfather, so how could I resist? So then, I thought, that's it, you know. I met Prince Charles, it's for the Prince's Trust and everything else. And then, about 2 weeks later, his office phoned mine and said, would Gary consider doing, with Billy Idol as Ace Face, would he do Madison Square Gardens? I went, wow! You know, for 6 nights, right? So I went over there and we did that, and I thought, that's it, it's all, that's it, the end of that, you know. Came back. And then 2 weeks later, they phoned me up and said, you know, and I rearranged an Australian tour to do it later on. And we did the whole of the States just now, 25 concerts and all the major venues. When we left Los Angeles, we went to the Grand Met, you know, where the Tyson and thingy fight, what's his name? World champion? Holyfield, yeah. You know, the Grand Met, where Elvis used to play, and the private jet flew. There's Las Vegas, and you got you know, the runway like that, and you step straight out of the aeroplane and straight into your dressing room, and there was a picture of Elvis up there, who was my hero when I was a kid, you know, and he went, like that. Oh. You know, so it was like the American dream at last is gone woof, and Rock and Roll Part 2, who's just played, is huge.
What do they make of you though, Gary? Because you know, you've been around for, you kind of shaped the 70s for us. You gave us that over-the-top, wild, almost panto rock and roll, fantastic performer. What do the Americans make of you? Now they've been through grunge and they're having their new punk stuff.
I think that they think I'm a bit of an eccentric. I don't know why. I have no idea. Now I tell you what they make of me. First of all, they know my name, and they know 2 or 3 of my records. But we didn't have that many records released. We were always with a small record label, right? And glam rock wasn't. They weren't ready for glam rock. They were fighting the Vietnam War and everything, and we were all glam rock. And then Kiss and all that lot came out much later, because I remember Mark Bolan, he was out there. We were all trying, but they weren't ready for platform shoes and things. You know, they weren't ready for it. And now they really are desperate for it, because they don't know what to do after, you know, their grungy thing and their Nirvana and all that. And so they're all going towards, you know, the glam thing.
They're ready for the leader.
Leader! That's it. Every gang has got to have a leader.
I mean, this sounds, what you've just described, like such a high point in your career, really. I mean, would you have thought, what's been the lowest point recently? I mean, a few years
back.
Well,
the 80s was a terrible time. Well, it was a terrible time in one way, but a fantastic time in another, because you know me, I always take the positive side, eventually, right? And what had happened was, from 1972 to 1976, this was pre-video time, so I'd go twice to Australia in 1 week and come back and do Top of the Pops. I think I was on Top of the Pops every week except for maybe two months in the summer of one of those years. I had a bed moved in a lot, you know, and there was Elton, and there was, you know, everybody was down there. And then then I needed a break, because I was just like burnt out, really, and you need to recharge your battery. And I went, I don't know, I was spending too much money, and I went bankrupt, and I was drinking too much, and I was, you know, doing silly substances and never saying no to anybody, right? I was saying, oh, because I want to do this, I want to do that. And suddenly I said, right, I'm going to take a year off. I'd met a nice girl, and I wanted to see if I could have look after Paul Gadd, which is, you know, and see if I could get in touch with my own emotions, because I'm a songwriter anyway, you've got to, you know. And I tried that, and anyway, I did take care of business, and you know, and I went bankrupt. And I took this job as, after a year that I lived in Paris, which was a great year, I must say. I had a fantastic time there.
What a twinkle in the eyes there.
Yeah.
Well, it was, Gary.
And Richard O'Brien, who wrote Rocky Horror Show, said, please, I lived in New Zealand, and I would love you to do it, because I based the Rocky Horror Show on you, and stroke probably a bit of Bowie, you know, the two. So will you do Rocky Horror in New Zealand? So I went off to New Zealand, and I got this message saying, you're bankrupt. Now, 1 minute they're telling me I'm a multi-millionaire, and I had this huge mansion holding. Next minute you're skinned, and you're in New Zealand, right?
Yeah,
you know,
not a nice combination. No.
But anyway, I came back eventually after being a hippie for about 8 months in Australia, because I just had to collect my thoughts and everything. That was quite good fun. And then I came back to England and to face the music. Now, the people that were new management knew this, that, and they were saying to me, Gary, you can be huge on television because you're everybody knows you, right? And I said, no, I'm a rock and roller. Then they said, right, we'll do this club tour, and I did this club tour, and there was two people from New York, two punks, right? They got Mohicans, and you know, and that was the time that was coming in. I recently saw them because they were at Madison Square Garden. It was great to see them again. And they were outside, and they'd flown over from New York, and they weren't allowed in because it was a bit of soup in the basket, and you've got to wear a funny old tie, you know, Watford's Baileys or something or other, right? And I said, that's it, no way. Where's my audience? Where's the gang? And then by this time they were now in university and places like that, and we started playing. I remember we did Norwich University, and it sold out in an hour, and we were doing like 3 and 4 nights there, and they were letting all the people in from the town, and that gang of mine just built and built, and you know, all those people that are around in the 70s that have still had their wealth and they're living in their ivory tower would love to be playing the Wembleys and all that this year, but they hadn't gone back on the street.
It's like you've been
so I was
reclaimed
lost
in a way
on Live Street, but it was great, you know.
Oh, lost on Live Street.
Do you ever think, though, Gary, there's going to come a time where you're going to hang up the platforms, hang up the jackets, and think, I'm just going to have to take it easy now?
Yeah.
Are you going to ever be too old to rock and roll?
No. When it refers to the platforms were definitely out until just recently, but they've come up with these lovely Kevlar type, you know, lightweight soles. Look, I'm going to stand up. You ready for this?
We're ready, baby.
What a pro. Check it out first.
Whoa! Tiptoe. Can you get that? Get the tiptoe. Look at that. There you are.
Around the front.
Look at that.
Gary, they're getting there. There we are.
Now, you couldn't do that in the original platform. So, here we have it. We're going through now. No, I don't think so, in answer to your question. I would not even consider going to tour if the gang didn't want the leader You know, they would tell me, they would just suddenly say, that's it, you know, we're not going to come through the door, but they keep coming through in huge amounts, you know. And this year we've got a new record out. I did a version of House of the Rising Sun. I've got a new writer, Mike Leander, who wrote Rock and Roll Parts 1 and 2, Leader of the Gang, Hello, I'm Back Again, I Love You, Love Me, Love, Do You Want to Touch Me, all those with me died this year. And that's a real, and for a few years we couldn't work together, so I had to look for somebody that I could work with. I'm working with a guy called Martin Jenkins, who's been with me for quite a long time, and we produced a new album which I think is probably the best work that I've done in years, and I'm so excited about it. And I've started my own record label to make sure that everything is done exactly the way I want. And you know, I believe in it so much.
It's extraordinary that someone can go from such huge successes. Yet the 70s, as Paul said, you know, you made them really, and the 80s is huge low point, and then to come back in glorious Technicolor with the theatricality and the shoes and the energy. I mean, it's a lesson for anybody.
Do you ever doubt yourself, Gary? Do you ever think, I can't do it? Did you have any moments of self-doubt?
I mean, everybody does, I think, you know, but I'm a Taurus the bull. Now, the best description of me is bull in a china shop. Everything is fine, right? And I've got this tunnel vision. I can always see light at the end of the tunnel, and you've got to go for it. And you can do anything you want. Now, you upset a lot of people sometimes. I mean, really do. You know, when I was on the booze trail and all that, the worst possible thing was I was upsetting all my family and my friends and everything else. So I got rid of all that. I drink water, right? I walk out on stage and the adrenaline hit from the crowd going, come on, that is the best high in the world. You don't need all that anesthetization, you know, because you can't feel the adrenaline. And so, no, I mean, that's what the energy is. But I'm fortunate to have that kind of energy. I've always had it, and everybody's just being so great with me. I mean, they just, they keep going, go on, leader. I better keep going.
Leader, will you just stay with us a moment longer, because you've been a fashion leader as well, and never one to miss an opportunity to mix with a legend as our very own fashion diva, Helen Fisher. Now, when she heard that Gary was coming on the show today, she insisted she had to do an item. Come on in, Helen.
Whoa!
Mrs. Glitter.
The leader
I made an effort, didn't I?
Isn't that gorgeous?
Mr. Glitter. Lovely
Do you need
to
those,
meet
Gary?
you.
Put those back on. You'll be dazzled.
I know.
It's like the Blackpool Tower, isn't it?
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've got my illuminations waiting round the corner for you.
So what have you got in store for Gary, Helen?
What have I got? Well, I've got a few girls dressed up already, you know, for your approval.
Oh, absolutely.
But, you know, we're here just to talk about general, you know, glitter fashion at this time of year, really.
I mean, and look at you, if you don't mind me saying, the shoulder pads might look better on Gary than they look on you.
I know.
Or on Fallon from Dynasty.
I know, exactly.
I don't need the shoulder pads. I've got
You're the real, I know, this is all,
That's
this is
the whole
muscle,
thing.
I can see, I can
Real
see.
McCoy.
But shoulder pads are going to be back, they really are. You know how things, they lie low for a while, they're going to be back.
Yeah. That's the reason why he's sitting right there.
Exactly.
So what can we get? What can we get in the shop?
Well, you've
that's
got
all
to
glittery
compete
for
with the Christmas tree, haven't you, at the end of the day? And I mean, it's funny because really confident people, they don't often wear, you know, eccentric, outlandish clothes. I'm not saying that you're not confident because you're under the professional spotlight, which is quite different. If, for example, if you think of Dorian in Birds of a Feather, I mean, she's riddled with insecurities, where you've got the Pauline Quirk character who just lounges around the tracksuit and is, you know, really together, take me as I come. So it's really for the girls who perhaps feel a little bit shy, a little bit wallflowery, and think, you know,
like you.
Well, let's take a look at them, because me and Gary are waiting now.
They're the ones who want to get some inspiration from this, and my first illumination is Tracy.
Whoa!
Oh,
She's
yes,
just a
very
bonny,
glittery.
isn't she? A lovely little lass. And everything on the high street now is as good as any designer gear. I mean, this see-through shirt is, and purple dress are both from Topshop, and little shoes from Faith. And you're looking at each piece well under 50 quid. So, you know, you can really go for it on a tight budget, and you look just as pretty
Party
as a
gear to
star.
die for.
Yeah, a shooting star, isn't she?
And the
Gorgeous. I
clothes.
love that top. I love that
Go
top.
for it in the big way and the clothes.
Deborah I have next. Now, she's made an effort, hasn't she?
Oh, no!
Blimey.
Oh, I love this.
I know.
Gorgeous.
She's got a little tunic dress again from Topshop, and the next knitted crochet top, again adorned in sequins, and little red wedge shoes.
I'm not sure about the red shoes.
You're not happy with the
It
shoes?
picks up the shoes, pick up the hair, don't
Well, you know, most things in life,
do.
most things in life,
Top
they
and
say
tail, I always say. Copy top and tail.
they do things. You know, you're supposed to do things in life in moderation, but I just thought, no, throw the whole bag in. Let's not miss the shoes. We could have put her in something simple and strappy, but no, I went for the whole hog here.
You went for it big time.
And look at those lashes.
Mine, of course, are real.
Of course they are, yeah.
Lovely.
Samantha.
Wow.
What's coming next? Oh, no, I like this.
You don't just wash and go, do you?
And this PVC, I mean, is just littered with little stars. I mean, just you were saying about how in the modern clothes they're so much softer and more wearable, aren't they?
They look a lot like the clothes that I'm wearing on stage this year. It's a sort of hologram effect, so that when they get the light on it, it does marvellous
And this is Topshop and Morgan, so, you know.
But do your trousers make a funny noise when you move around? Because these, Sam was trying these out earlier, and they creak as she moves.
I bet you can seriously lose weight in them.
About 8 years ago, we did something like that, and when sometimes, if you go out in the cold, they start to get really hard. So you actually
All stiff.
they're really stiff. Well, mine did anyway. I don't know.
I mean,
they're lovely.
I bet 8 hours on a dance floor in a pair of PVC trousers like that, you are shedding
them
the
up,
pounds,
that's
aren't you,
right,
really? So it's a good workout.
It's great.
Thanks very much. Thank
You
you.
look lovely.
But really, Helen, this is party gear, I suppose we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Christmas
mean,
party time
it's
coming.
not shocking clothes anymore. Things like this, I mean, they do stand out. I mean, if you really want to stand out in clothes like this, wear them in the daytime. That's what I'd say.
Blimey, you never get knocked over.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to wear that for the
me
rest
on the
of
way
the
home.
day.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's drop dead gorgeous. You know, be counted, be seen clothing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Thank
But I
you,
also,
Ellie.
one little point though, don't forget the glitter on the inside. Shine that one up for Christmas too.
Polish that
And Gary, have you got any of your classic outfits from like Remember Me This Way and stuff from the movies or the
Yeah,
stage shows in the
there's a
70s?
few, but most of them, when I went bankrupt and went broke and everything else, the gang bought them, right? And so when I look out at my audience, they're all wearing lots of my gear, which is great because they paid for them in the first place. So it's marvellous. I go, wow!
It's all come full circle
Wow,
then.
isn't it?
Oh, thanks, Gary. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much
Best
for
to see you
coming in.
again. Thank you, Helen, as well.
To the leader.
Wow.